Before we begin this video, as I was editing it, all the shops in Japan, or at least the main ones, have put up their prices for the first set. I'll quickly go over some of the main ones. The first one, which is my favorite shop personally, which is Shaka Shaka Toreka. They put up a picture of their shop prices on their Twitter, and we can see that for the VRs, the most expensive one there is Alfred at almost it's at 20 bucks essentially, Imperial Daughter at 15, Dragonic Waterfall at 14, and Perfect Riser at 5. For the triple rares, we see the most expensive one is Akane at 4 bucks, everything else is less than that. For the double rares, almost everything is $1 or $2, if not less, except for the Perfect Guards. The Royal one is $4.50, Oracle one is a bit over 2 bucks I think, Kaguro one is around 4, and the Nova one is around 150. Now looking at Yuyute, they also have the price for all the upper rarity stuff. For the secret signed gift markers, we can see Kamui is the cheapest one at around 3,000 yen, Aichi and Kai are about 4,000 yen each, and Misaki obviously is the most expensive one at 6,000 yen. Their VRs are a little bit more, both Alfred and Waterfall are at $25 or about 20 euros. Imperial Daughter is at 2,000 yen, so around 15 euros / 20 bucks, and Perfect Riser here is almost 1,000 yen, so a lot more expensive. Looking at their triple rares though, it's about the same price, except everything is a little bit more. The most expensive one here is actually Soul Saver at almost 6 bucks, and for the double rares, the most expensive one is actually the Royal Paladin Perfect Guard at about 8 bucks. However, both Yuyute and the following Big Web are known to overprice things quite a bit compared to every other shop. Looking at Big Web, we can see that Imperial Daughter, Waterfall, and Alfred are all around the same price, around the 20 buck mark, and then Perfect Riser is 8 bucks. For the triple rares, again, Soul Saver is the most expensive one, with Akane being behind, as well as Berserk Dragon being the next, as well as Silent Tom. But again, these don't break more than 5 bucks, which is really nice for triple rares. And finally, the final really big shop that put up their prices is Amenity Dream. For them, Alfred doesn't even hit the 20 buck mark. Waterfall and Imperial Daughter are both around 22 bucks, with Perfect Riser being at 8. For the triple rares, the most expensive one is actually Airmo at 580 yen. Everything else is around 450 or less. And for the double rares, the most expensive one here is the Kaguro Perfect Guard, with the Royal Paladin one being second. But again, overall we can see these prices are looking very nice, especially looking at Shaka Shaka ones, but even the rest do look quite good, and definitely not as bad as the initial day one prices. But now moving along into the main content of this video. Hello and welcome guys to today's video, where we're going to be talking about VRs. If you didn't already know, VRs are the new rarity in the rebooted series, or well, the first set, Unite Team Q4, and they will be in every set following that, which are essentially a rarity that you get 5 of each per case. A case is 20 boxes, and you also certainly pull 1 VR per box. So that is just some basic information, but basically it's just a rarity, just like triple rare, etc. VRs were something that people were afraid of. They were afraid that these would be cards that are 4-ofs, and that they need, and that they'd be expensive and hard to get, and people were hoping that the game would get cheaper, but then if VRs are all 4-ofs, then it doesn't really help it, does it? And now when they revealed the first VR, which is Perfect Riser, that certainly did seem to be the case. Because Perfect Riser is very much a card you want to be playing 4-of, because it sort of has a whole deck revolving around it, and it's very much a card whose both skills go live the moment you write it. However, as they kept revealing VRs, I think some people started to see that not all of these cards are necessarily 4-ofs. Today we're going to be breaking down the VRs as well as the other grade 3s in the set / the trial deck that came out, or trial decks that came out recently, and try to take a look at exactly what's the purpose of each VR and how much of each one you might want to be playing. So the first one of which is obviously gonna be the poster child of the entire set, and well, not quite series, but let's just say the set, which is King of Knights Alfred. He has 2 skills, both of which revolving around Blaster Blade. The first one simply calls one and gives it 5k from the deck, and then the other one gives Alfred plus 10k while you have a Blaster Blade rearguard. Now, some people were disappointed in this skill because compared to some other VRs, it didn't seem that special. It's like combos 1 to call one and give something 5k and then just get a plus 10k buff. It didn't seem all that great, especially since Alfred early in the trial deck seemed to be doing a bit more, in the sense that if with Alfred early you call the Blaster Blade from Soul, you're actually getting a plus 2. Whereas with King of Knights Alfred, you're only getting a plus 1 at all times. However, the way that a lot of the grade 3s have been structured in this set is that you have one grade 3 that you're right into immediately and sort of build up your mid game until you're ready to go to the, final pushing turn. And the card for Royal Paladin that goes for that final pushing turn is Soul Saver Dragon, which for Soul Blast 5 lets you give 6 of your units plus 15k for the turn. And that skill isn't once per turn, so if you can get 10 soul, you can actually use that skill twice. Now the important thing is that the Alfred doesn't use any soul, whereas Alfred Early does, because he can actually call the Blaster Blade from the soul, meaning you're going to be losing one of the soul cards that you wanted for Soul Saver. So in that sense, King of Knights Alfred is a good way to sort of build up your mid game, maybe use his skill once or twice to call out 2 of your Blaster Blades from the deck, and maybe use Blaster Blade skill if you want to, but again, that does eat up soul, so you're not sure if you'd want to, but it still gives you a unit every single turn, and also a substantial amount of power. Whereas Soul Saver, you go into when you want to be finishing the game, and simply get that sweet plus 15k buff on everything, if not 30. So in that case, you might want to order around your grade 3s with maybe 4 King of Knights Alfred and then 3 Soul Savers. Or potentially, what some people are also doing is potentially play 4 King of Knights Alfred, 3 Soul Savers, and then 2 Gigantic Chargers, because it does have some utility on the rearguard circle and giving a pretty powerful effect, in which it gets plus 10k every time you ride something. And that way you'd have 9 grade 3s to be able to get more of the force markers in this case. So in that sense, the purpose of the VR for Royals is very much to just like go into it early and then sort of build up your mid game plus a little bit here and there, and just push them with a little bit of power until you can unleash the full power of Soul Saver. Looking at Orgel Think Tank, on the other hand, their VR is Imperial Daughter, which has 2 skills, the first one of which is when ridden, you counterblast 1 and look at the top 2 and add 1 to your hand and the other one to your soul or at the top of your deck. But if you rode on a grade 3, she gets plus 15k and plus 1 crit. Therefore, her skill is one that you would not want to be going into as your first grade 3 ride. Her second skill is a once per turn Soul Blast 1 to give one of your units plus 6k, which lets you, build up field quite easily. So if you do ride her first, you do still get the +1 for counterblast 1 and you can use her second skill right off the bat. However, due to the nature of her first skill, she lends herself more to being ridden second, and therefore you want to be going into something else first, such as CEO Amaterasu, whose both skills go live the moment you ride her, and she also has a rearguard skill, meaning that you can deploy several at the very start. But that's also not everything, because Orgel Think Tank got another grade 3 in his set, which is Victoria's Deer, which allows you to Soul Blast 2 grade 3s and discard a card from your hand to look at the top 7 of your deck, reveal up to 2 crits from among them, put them on top of your deck in any order, then shuffle the rest of the cards you looked at, put them on the bottom of your deck, and 6 of your units get plus 10k until end of turn. Now this, being a double rare, has a very similar effect to that of Soul Saver, where you're giving 6 of your units plus 10k power, and you can put 2 crits on top of your deck potentially, but the cost is to Soul Blast 2 grade 3s, meaning you will have ridden at least twice before. So potentially your first grade 3 ride would be CEO Amaterasu, then followed up by Imperial Daughter, who then would also get the plus 15k and the crit, essentially being a bit of a stride, and then you would want to go into Victoria's Deer, which just gives this whole field massive pump and potentially gives you crits and everything like that. So I think in this case you'd probably want to be playing 4 CEO Amaterasu because she also has a good rearguard skill, and then maybe 3 Imperial Daughter, and then possibly 2 Victoria's Deer. But don't forget that Victoria's Deer skill is also in a rearguard circle, so you don't actually have to ride it to use the skill. You can be on Imperial Daughter and have your extra crit from riding her, but then you can also call Victoria's Deer to Soul Blast 2 of your grade 3s, and then still try to get the 2 crits on top of the deck and buff up your deck. So in that sense, you might even want to be playing more. So in that case, you're not really sure how you should be structuring your grade 3s, because for OTT, every single grade 3 is really good. Amaterasu goes live the moment you ride her and helps you overall plus and just build up a nice field. Imperial Daughter gets the crit and overall just dishes out power to your field with like a balanced sense and also pluses. And then Victoria's Deer, so it just sets up the perfect victory condition without even having to be ridden. So in that sense, it's quite hard to say what's the best grade 3 lineup, but I think in this case you might want to go for a 4-3-2 or even pushing for a 4-3-3 because they're really that good. But now looking at everyone's fan favorite Kaguro, we do have Dragonic Waterfall, which does have a very scary skill. The first one of which is when you ride it, you just retire one of your opponent's grade 2 or greater rearguards. Not as good if it was grade 2 or less, but still quite nice. But when it attacks, you Soul Blast the grade 3, and until end of battle he gets plus 10k and a crit, and your opponent cannot call Sentinels from hand to Guardian Circle. Now again, we see this trend of Soul Blast to grade 3, meaning that this one also would rather be ridden second, so you'd probably be riding the Dragonic Overlord from the trial deck first, meaning that would probably be your 4 of, and then maybe 3 Dragonic Waterfall. Now Kaguro doesn't really have this sort of other grade 3 that lets you transition from one stage to another. It's very much just like Dragonic Overlord at first and then go into Waterfall, but it does have these supporting grade 3s, such as Vortex Dragon that can build up a bunch of power when anything is retired, or Cruel Dragon, which kind of lets you call him earlier on if you get to retire anything on like turn 1, turn 2, etc., and then also provide you some soul. And you know, it's possible that with Cruel Dragon, if you get him off a bit early, you might accidentally soul charge a grade 3, meaning you could even first ride Waterfall and then be able to get his second skill off, so in that sense it is quite interesting in how the game might progress. So I think for Kaguro, you would definitely be wanting to play 4 of the Dragonic Overlord and then probably 3 Waterfall, and then I would say, depending on what your build is, maybe 1 or 2 of the supporting grade 3s, but you could also go with just a 4 Dragonic Overlord and 4 Waterfall and you would still be fine. So I think Kaguro sort of lends itself more to more traditional deck building in the way that we just played with, you know, 7 to 8 grade 3s, but with the new imaginary gift markers, you do want to be playing more just for the sake of riding up to them and being able to put more gift markers on your field. Now finally, the most problematic one is Nova Grappler. Perfect Riser is a really good card because both its skill to stand 2 rearguards in the front row and also his on-hit skill go live the moment he's ridden. However, Nova Grappler didn't really get a really good finisher grade 3 like Soul Saver or Waterfall. So Perfect Riser is definitely the 4 of that you want to be playing because you just want to go into it and start pressuring them really fast, try to end the game on turn 3 or 4. Because your only other options are Ashura Kaiser, which can withstand 1 unit and give it power, but that's basically all it does, so you maximum get 2 restands off of him per turn because it relies on drive checks. And again, that doesn't really feel the same way, it's not the same kind of finisher feel as with like Victorious Deer, where you can give your whole field plus 10k and get 2 crits on the top of your deck as well. And unfortunately, all the other grade 3s for Nova Grappler in this set belong to the hero race, meaning that's a separate deck of its own. While it is a good thing because that separate deck is a very good budget option that you can easily, you know, build for like $20-30 probably and have a deck that you can, like, you know, just lend your friends at any point. But that sadly took away from Nova Grappler's, you know, availability of options, I want to say, but that might just be what Bushiroad is going for with Axel clans. And then Risers also have access to Maximum Riser, which essentially is just going to be doing work on the Axel circle by being a 32k attacker, but it doesn't have the Axel marker, so it's just there for the same support role as Kagero's other 2 grade 3s. One of the hero grade 3s, however, Battledore Fighter, does kind of work as a splash that you could play together with Perfect Riser because he essentially works as a fetus. So while he is hero, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's restricted to being played just in the hero deck. In the end, with Axel, you probably just want to be finishing the game really quickly and very heavily rely on your early game skills and just try to push forward very fast, whereas both Force and especially Protect are more looking forward to the late game. So I think it makes sense that for OTT they have a lot of these really good grade 3s that can do a lot of different ways of finishing, whereas both Force clans have this more balanced accessibility of skills, but still both have a way to finish the game quite consistently. So that's basically all I want to talk about in this video, which is basically what the VRs are and what their purpose in each deck is. So definitely not all of them are 4-ofs. I think the only one that I can say is definitely a 4-of is Perfect Riser. I think Alfred you could even play as a 3-of and play 4 Alfred early. Some people are saying you don't even need him at all, you could just play Alfred early, which isn't wrong either, but then I think it takes away from the soul you have for Soul Saver, which is definitely the win condition that you want to be going for. I think Imperial Daughter and Dragonic Waterfall are both these sort of like 3 to 4 kind of thing. It's going to be interesting how the pro players are going to be building their decks over time, because there are obviously going to be different strategies and, you know, cards that people choose to use or don't use. I think, like I said, Kaguro is a bit more straightforward. It has these supporting grade 3s you can choose to play or not to play, and it sort of depends on how you build up your deck. If it's retire heavy, then maybe Vortex is the right one, but if you want to prioritize the soul and get maybe Waterfall off earlier, then you might want to go for Cruel Dragon instead. Whereas for Royals, it's very much just like whether you try to combine Alfred early and Alfred, or just Alfred and Soul Saver. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how people build up their decks, but I hope for those of you that weren't quite sure what you were doing, or you weren't sure how the new deck building style is going to be, I hope that this sort of added to the discussion. And don't forget to also leave your ideas on this as well, how you would be building your decks in the reboot. Don't forget that the entire set list is now out in Japanese because the set is about to release in Japanese, so make sure to check it out and all the new cards that have been revealed. But that's gonna be it for me today. Don't forget to click the bell button, as well as check out the social medias in the description and join my Discord channel if you haven't already. But on that note, that's all for me today. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.